This is the 2024 Honda CB650R, and it features their brand new e-clutch system, which is an interesting bit of tech that should take some of the sting out of stop-start riding. But is it any good? And should you think about speccing it up on your new Honda in 2024? Well, in this video we'll go through all of the details as well as taking it out for a spin to find out. So let's start with a quick overview of what this new system does and how it works. Essentially, you've got an electronic actuator with two motors bolted to the side of the engine that can operate the clutch on your behalf. Plus, there's a control unit that decides if and when to intervene based upon your current speed, throttle position, engine RPM, shift pedal pressure, clutch motor reduction gear angle, engine countershaft speed, and which gear is currently selected. So I think it's fair to say that's fairly comprehensive. In practice, it means that you can come to a stop, for example, and the clutch will automatically pull in, and as you twist the throttle to move off, it'll start to let the clutch out. There is still, however, a traditional clutch lever if you want to intervene yourself, which automatically disables the e-clutch while in use. A good example of where you might want to use this would be to slip the clutch in very slow-moving traffic for that extra little bit of control. The e-clutch also enables clutchless up and down shifts in the same way you'd expect from a quick shifter, although Honda claim it's extra slick at any level of revs, owing to the fact that it can actually dip the clutch momentarily. Now, at the moment, the e-clutch is currently available on this bike, the CB650R, and also the sports bike equivalent, the CBR650R. But the thing is, one of the benefits they talked about when they first announced this system was the fact that it requires minimal adaptations to the bike in order to fit it, as opposed to something like their DCT system or dual clutch transmission, which is effectively a whole new gearbox and pair of clutches. So look, if this is a success in this bike, I'd be very surprised if we don't see it rolling out to more Hondas over the next few years, like their 500 lineup, for example, which includes the NX500 Adventure bike, the CB500F Hornet Naked, the CBR650R sports bike, the Rebel 500 Cruiser, and I think that's it. But you know, you get the idea. This could be on a lot of bikes. But look, this all sounds great on paper, but what I really think we need to do is take it for a ride and find out whether it's actually any good and what it really feels like out on the road. But before we get on the road, I'd just like to say a huge thanks to REBELHORN for supporting the channel and sponsoring this video. For this particular ride, I'm wearing their awesome Hunter 2 leather jacket, which combines timeless good looks with excellent protection from the elbow, shoulder and back armor. Plus, on a warm day like today, you've got some neat vents on the chest to help keep you cool. For me, this is the perfect balance of form and function, all whilst being delivered at what I think is a very solid price. Now, I've paired it with their VANDAL boots and jeans, which both look good enough to wear off the bike, but like the Hunter, they're fully protective and also super comfortable. So once again, a massive thanks to REBELHORN for their support and also providing me with these brilliant products. And with that, do check out the link down in the description below to find out more. So look, a quick demonstration. The first massive benefit of this system is the fact that you can ride it effectively as a twist and go, and the bike manages the clutch on your behalf. So sitting here in neutral, without having to touch the clutch, of course, I can just stick it into first, and it doesn't stall. Then if I want to pull away, a little gentle twist of the throttle, because it can be a little bit jerky, but you just give it half a mil, and the bike will start to pull away. And it really isn't bad. Once you get used to riding it with a little bit of nuance and carefulness, it really is pretty good. Now at a junction like this, like you could just see there, you just pull the brake in, no need to touch the clutch, it'll just recognize that's happening on your behalf and pull in the clutch electronically, and then again, a little bit of throttle, and you're off on the move. Now I think you can see immediately how this would be quite convenient if you were doing commuting and very congested city riding where you're stopping and starting almost constantly, and you're constantly having to pull in the clutch, hold it for a few seconds, let it out, pull it in, let it out. And so yeah, with this, stop, start, twist and go, no need to put it in neutral if you're stopping for a little bit longer. And I think it really could reduce the fatigue of a long city ride on your left hand. And then once you're on the move and out of town, the other benefit is the fact that it can basically act like a quick shifter. So I guess when it detects a bit of pressure on the pedal that you're about to make a shift, it pulls in the clutch on your behalf electronically to momentarily reduce the load on the gearbox, and that's what allows you to perform that shift either up or down the box without having to dip the clutch or change your throttle position. And I've got to say, it really is very slick on the upshift, and possibly even better than what I'd expect from a traditional quick shifter. There's very little force required on the lever, and it happens with absolutely no jolting or jerking at all. And so yeah, I'm pretty impressed with it when you're under acceleration, and it definitely helps to add to the sporty vibe of a bike like this, especially with this brilliant inline-4 engine. The only thing I will say is that on the downshift, it's still pretty smooth, but maybe not quite as immediate as a regular quick shifter. There's a little bit of a lag. Let me crack my visor open so you can hear it. I don't know if you can hear that, but basically it takes half a second for the engine just to come up to the level of revs that you would say is perfectly matched for your speed.
Now, perhaps I can explain a little more clearly, because you don't always get it quite so concise when you're out on the bike. Effectively, the reason that the bike isn't that crisp on the downshifts is because the CB650R and the CBR650R still run a cable throttle, not a more modern ride-by-wire throttle. And so I think that means that they can't intervene to blip the level of revs to get a really crisp, neat rev match on those downshifts. And it's the same reason that the quick shifter accessory for these particular bikes only works on the upshift as well. They can momentarily cut the power to make those clutchless upshifts, but there's no way to auto blip on the way down. Now, what I will say is you can play in the bike settings with the amount of pressure required on the pedal to make the clutchless shifts. So you can choose from soft, medium, and hard, and you can choose different values for the up and down shifts. So to some extent, you can perhaps get the feel of the lever to feel similar to a regular quick shifter that you've maybe used on a previous bike. But the long and short of it is there's not really any way to get the bike to perform in the same way as a quick shifter enabled ride-by-wire bike. Like if we're talking about the immediate competitions, something like a Triumph Trident 660. That said, if you've got your heart set on one of the Honda 650s and you're purely considering whether to go for the quick shifter upgrade or the E-clutch, for me, the E-clutch wins absolutely hands down, because you can still make those clutchless downshifts. They're just a little bit laggy.
Here you'll see I've stopped in second gear, and it's given me a prompt to shift down into first to pull away, and I think you could set off in second, but yeah, it's maybe just more of a recommendation. But it's kind of impressive that you can just stand on the lever and it'll shift down into first, and again, no need to touch the clutch. Genuinely, I've been really quite impressed with it today. I think there are lots of scenarios in which this would be quite a valuable feature, and really the only downsides are firstly learning to use it, learning that subtlety with the throttle when you're pulling away. Other than that, it's just the fact that it adds like nearly 3 kilograms, and it perhaps doesn't look quite so clean from this side of the bike. But really, overall, to say it's something that's just bolted to the side of the bike here, yeah, I think they've done a really good job.
Perhaps the only other factor I'd encourage you to consider is the new tech from other manufacturers that appears to be on the horizon. KTM, BMW, and Yamaha have all very recently announced similar systems, which not only have an E-clutch like this, but also another actuator on the gear shifter as well. This means you'll be able to ride in an automatic mode where the bike takes care of the gears for you, or you can choose your own gears manually through the buttons on the switchgear or with a dummy foot shifter. And look, the key thing here is that Yamaha have patented this tech on their CP2 engine, and so it looks like it'll be coming to a similarly affordable range of bikes to the Honda 650s, but just with that added auto capability. If this sounds more useful to you in your particular use case, then of course it might be worth holding out for at least a demo ride. But do keep in mind that all of these systems appear to completely do away with the clutch lever, and so perhaps the Honda 650 system will maintain a nice compromise between some added convenience while still being able to fall back on the traditional clutch and shifting.
So look, there are some strengths, some weaknesses to consider about this system, but I think if I was buying a CB650R or a CBR650R in 2024, I'd almost certainly be speccing it up, and that's for one key reason, and that's the price. You see, it's just an extra £100 versus the standard model without it for this e-clutch version, and I think for everything that it offers, that's just phenomenal value for money. Keep in mind that the quick shifter accessory for this particular bike is 260 quid, and it only works on the upshift. So I think for that reason alone, if you just think of it acting like a quick shifter, it's easily worth it. But then you've got that ability to run it in that twist and go mode that occasionally I think is gonna come in handy, especially if you commute a lot. You know, for that sort of money, considering what it does, it's just something I'd rather have there as an option than not.
As always though, I'd love to know your thoughts on whether you'd spec it up, so do let me know down in the comments below. Also, if you want to see some of the other interesting new nakeds available on the market this year, then I'll put our full rundown on the screen now so you can give it a click and give it a watch in case you haven't already. Hit subscribe as well if you want to see more of the latest motorcycle reviews like this right here on MOTOBOB. A massive thanks for watching today, and we'll catch you in the next video.